Hello and welcome to episode number 133 of Week in Review. My name is Sean, and on this week's show, we have a lighter show this week than last week because playing 69 video games is a lot to top. So we'll just cut it down to a few things this week. We have two different Star Trek shows that we're going to talk about. Star Trek Lower Decks, which is brand new, and then Star Trek Discovery Season 1 was something that I watched after watching Lower Decks. We'll also talk about Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout and this week's new releases, as well as the streams happening over on twitch.tv/SeanDiscourseRex. First up on this week's show, we have the new CBS All Access animated comedy called Star Trek Lower Decks, and while it's an interesting concept, it does absolutely nothing to distinguish itself in any way. It's very boring, it's very predictable. I did not enjoy this show at all, which is a bummer because I really like Star Trek, and I think the idea of working with a crew from the Lower Decks is interesting, and I think that having a comedy that can play with the style and structure of Star Trek and the character tropes and stuff like that, and kind of use this like satirical or meta humor to like play with it and poke fun at it. It sounds awesome. The show is just so generic and boring and bland, and I was often very bored watching this show. This show has two really big bad first steps, and the first of it is its animation style. This could not be a more boring show to look at. It just looks very plain and like every other animated show you've seen since Rick and Morty came out and really popularized this specific style. It's just so generic. There's nothing about the art style at all that stands out. It's not interesting to look at all. And it really just lends into this feeling of blandness and like kind of been here, done that it can't ever really seem to shake. The second big problem that it has is that it's one of its main four characters, Brad Boimer, is insufferably bad. He's not funny, he's not interesting, he is a generic, boring character that wants to be a captain of a starship, and that informs every single one of the decisions he makes throughout this episode. Because he's so by the book, he is the perfect candidate to kind of keep an eye on one of the other ensigns that has a tendency to break protocol and do that sort of thing. So he is tasked with keeping track of this other character. And this is where the kind of very predictable aspect of the show comes into play. When he gets that task, which he takes just immediately and just is like, I'll do it, whatever. As soon as the other character breaks protocol, you see exactly where the joke is going. The joke is supposed to be the subversion of expectations, to be like, oh, something really bad is happening. But then when it happens, it's like supposed to be this like, oh, just kidding, it wasn't that bad. Haha, that's pretty funny. Except for it's not, because you can see it coming from a mile away. The character that he is in charge of watching, Beckett Mariner, is actually the brightest spot of this show so far. She has an energy and a character that is engaging and fun. I really liked her, and I thought they could have used her more. And she has an interesting backstory that could come into play somewhere down the line. Hopefully they dive into that and kind of explain or explore her past and why she is the way she is. But she is the light, the shining light in this very dull show. There are two other characters in this show, Devon Tandy and Sam Rutherford, that don't get nearly the screen time that they deserve, and even the screen time that they do get isn't all that great. Starting with Sam Rutherford, his character has recently been implanted with cyborg parts for some reason, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember them really explaining that. It's kind of like just thrown in there. And his whole arc is he has a date, and that date doesn't go very well. But the humor, I think, and that's a bad thing when I'm saying that I think in a comedy show, I feel like it should be more obvious that they're going for jokes and they're just missing, instead of being like, I think this is supposed to be funny, but I don't really know, because it just doesn't strike at all. The humor in his situation is supposed to be that he hits it off on a date, which is innocent and romantic and fun, while in the background there is a very bold and explosive and violent confrontation going on around them, and that, I guess, is supposed to be funny. It just misses the mark on all accounts. And then finally we have Devon Tandy. She is brand new on the starship, and she acts as the audience's character in this particular episode as they introduce her to what exactly is on the starship and kind of what they're doing. She gets next to no screen time, and I don't have any sort of impression of her, much like the character, much like Sam. I don't know. I'm not put off by them. I don't dislike them. I also don't like them. I just don't know who they are. They just don't have anything to do. A lot of this stuff feels very rushed. It moves very quickly from point to point. It feels like it wants to be a fast and snappy animated comedy. None of the jokes work. It falls very flat. It points out some interesting things here and there, but it doesn't really commit to any of them. It doesn't seem to really have any fun with the Star Trek formula or the character tropes or anything. I found this to be a very bland and very, very boring episode of TV. Granted, this is the first episode of the first season of an animated comedy. That stuff usually takes a little bit of time to get going, to find their footing. You can look at a lot of examples. I think The Simpsons is probably one of the better ones, where it's not until like the third season where that really starts to kick in. Hopefully this one gets going a little bit sooner, but I was left very unimpressed with this show, which is a bummer because I really like Star Trek a lot. On the flip side, I did start watching Star Trek Discovery, so I guess a positive came out of watching Star Trek Lower Decks, where I was like, I'd really like to watch more Star Trek, and I never started Star Trek Discovery for whatever reason. And it's a bummer that I didn't, because I really enjoy the show so far. I'm about 4 episodes in, and I really like where it's going. It is a little bit slow in spots, and I think that one of the weird things about this particular show is it simultaneously is trying to balance being a show that has like a 13 episode arc that flows through all of the episodes, but also kind of maintaining the, what I think of when I think of Star Trek is a like creature enemy story of the week that usually kind of solves itself by the end of the episode and then kind of moves on to its next adventure. But I'm enjoying it for what it is, even when it can be a little bit off as far as the pacing is concerned. Sometimes Star Trek has a tendency to either tip its hand too much and lead you to the answer, or what they do is they'll only tell you information that is relevant to the story. So like when an enemy shows up and you go like, oh, there's this enemy here, and then someone discovers something or they find something, you go, oh wait, I know what this is going to be. So when the character is like, oh, I don't know what this possibly could be, you as an audience member sitting there going like, it's blah blah blah, I know this because you, the person telling me this story, have already told me this part of the story, even though the character doesn't know it. It was a problem I had with Star Trek Picard as well. But what I like about this show is it's a new cast of characters, and I really like the characters. I really like Michael. She is a very she's very headstrong, and she's smart and clever in a way that I think is interesting to watch, and the way she kind of can be selfish, but like kind of working for almost like a greater good sort of thing, where like the decision right in the moment isn't the right call and it's probably not a good call, but there is that like next step of thinking of like, look, if I take care of the situation, you're gonna hate me in like for the next 30 seconds, but when this is all said and done, we're gonna be cool. I really like her. I think she's very interesting. I just hit the end of episode 4, and I think we're gonna hit a turning point with her because of a piece of information that she's given right at the end of that episode. I think we're going to move into a different direction with her, because in the first couple of episodes she's very stubborn and very headstrong. In the second 2 episodes she's very cold, and that is in direct relation to what happens at the end of episode number 2, and I think it's really interesting to watch. In addition to Michael, we also have Saru, who is my favorite character currently. I just really love the way he interacts, especially the way he interacts with Michael through the first 4 episodes has been absolutely fantastic. I enjoy his very like calculated approach to things, and how he even at times really tries to see the best, but is still like very hurt by what Michael has done in the past. And then we have Tully, who is a new character who I like, but we haven't gotten enough of her. And then we also have Chief Engineer Stamets, who is really wonderfully played by Anthony Rapp, who I've seen on Kind of Funny content. He's really good in the role, and his character is kind of an ass in a way that is interesting. Like I like his very he has like a very specific idea of what he wants to do on this ship. It's like, as a science ship, that's what he's worried about. And all of a sudden they've been dragged into this war and he doesn't really want much to do with it. I like that he's stubborn and kind of a dick. I think that's really interesting. The acting across the board in this show is fantastic. Sonequa Martin Green is crushing it as Michael in the lead role. She's fantastic. Doug Jones is crushing it as Saru, who I'm really enjoying. And Mary Wiseman as Sylvian. Tilly, I said Tully earlier, but it actually is Tilly. She's doing really great in her role as well. I'd like to see more of her. She, of the 4 characters that I mentioned so far, she has had the least screen time. Again, 4 episodes in, I think we're going to turn a corner and we're going to start getting more of some of these secondary characters. And I also think that Michael is going to kind of turn a corner to a more softer side of her. That is going to kind of more revert to what we saw in the first couple episodes. But I'm really enjoying it. I think it's fantastic. Star Trek Lower Decks is actually starting a 23-week span where we're getting new episodes of Star Trek every single week. And once that 10-episode run of Lower Decks is done, it's going to lead into the 3rd season of Star Trek Discovery. So I have a little bit of time to catch up before that new season starts. But I'm going to continue watching Discovery because it's really great and it's actually exactly what I want out of a Star Trek show. Even if it was kind of surprising, I like the balance of the science-y problem-solving dialogue stuff mixed with the frequency of action. I think it's a really nice mix between the two. I think the acting's fantastic. I really love the style. The design of the costumes is great. I really like Star Trek Discovery a lot, and I can't wait to go watch more of it. So I should stop talking so I can edit this video, and then I can watch more of it. So there you go. Watch Discovery. Finally, we'll talk about what is the most exciting release of the week, and the most exciting thing that I watched or played this week, and that was Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. I've known about this game for a while. It's a battle royale, which is a genre that in the gaming sphere has exploded over the last couple of years with stuff like PUBG and Fortnite specifically, and Call of Duty has their entry in the genre with Warzone, which seems to be doing well for them. But this is a much different style of battle royale. It's 60 players and it has a very most extreme elimination challenge / Takeshi's Castle vibe, where you play as a little bean and you have to beat 59 other beans to get the crown and to be the champion. And it's finally a battle royale that I enjoy. I think it is wonderful, colorful, silly, awesome fun. It is fun to watch, which is why I got so excited about the game in the first place, because they did 2 beta weekends, or beta sessions, I don't know if they were weekends, but they did 2 beta sessions on PC before the launch, and I watched a ton of it. I watched probably 10 hours of people playing this, and it looked so good, because I think what this game does so well is it's just so simple and easy to grasp. What I don't like about battle royale games is I don't ever feel like my skill is improving, or I feel like it takes too long for my skill to improve in a game. PUBG is a really good example of I just got shot from 300 meters some other direction. I never really got a good feel for the guns or the movement or the combat or anything, and that's not fun to me. Those games are also too long. This game has the perfect mix of easy to grasp. You have a jump button, you have a dive button, you have a grab button, which is R2, and you move with the left stick. That's it. That's super simple. The other thing that I really like about this game, in addition to its simplicity and its controls, is the events themselves. I think it's at its strongest when it's the point-to-point obstacle races, but I also think the team games are fun as well. But what I like so much about it is that you are kind of always in the thick of it. You may be way behind in the race, but you're always moving. You're always making progress towards something, whether it is trying to get to the end of the race, or whether you're doing a team game and you're trying to grab an egg to get more points for your team, or you're doing the fall ball and trying to score a goal. You're always in the thick of it and you're always in the action, and that is super helpful to keep me engaged, and it doesn't let me sit there in a house and I'm waiting for someone to maybe come by and I think about how kind of I'm bored and I don't enjoy this. Instead, I'm actively engaged in what's going on, and that keeps me going through these rounds. I also think that the game lengths are pretty much the perfect amount. I don't think anything ever goes above 3 minutes from a timed perspective. Sometimes the rounds can last a little bit longer if it's a smaller group of people and you're in the final round and you have a couple of people remaining in probably the best event, which is called Hexagon, and it has 6 layers of hexagons that when you step on them they disappear. if you get down to like one or two people and they're on different levels and they're kind of using specific strategies to like jump and hold on the hexagons as long as possible, those can take a while, but they're still engaging because you're sitting there and you're like, I can't miss this jump. If I miss this jump, I'm going to fall and I'm going to fall into the goo and then I'm going to lose and I'm only going to get second place, which is another thing that I also like. I've won 6 times in this and it just feels so thrilling to win. I've gotten second place and it doesn't feel that irritating because I know I can get right back in it. I feel like I'm just so consistently getting toward the finals. I'm giving myself a chance to get those victories and it just feels really good. This is a game that clicks with me on all cylinders and I can't wait to see how they evolve it. Now, the game's not perfect. There are a couple of events that aren't great. I don't think there is a single one of the point-to-points that I don't like. I like all of them. I guess if you qualified the tiptoe event, which is a big grid of squares and you have to find a path in there, so you have to like be very careful and tiptoe your way across to not find the like fake path or whatever that when you hit it automatically drops and you disappear. If that one qualifies as a point to point, that's the one that I like the least. It feels too like you have to be in the correct wave to get there, and it's not the most fun. The pace is a little bit too slow, but other than that, all the other point-to-point stuff is fantastic. I love playing those. The one event that I'm not a super huge fan of is the tail grabbing game, and it's just because the game's inconsistent. Sometimes it feels like I'm right there and I should be grabbing the tail, but I'm not, and then sometimes a person is like 3 bean lengths it's hard to say. Sometimes a bean is like 3 lengths behind me and they grab it somehow, and it's just this super weird thing where the inconsistency makes it frustrating and it's just not fun. It's my least favorite final event is the tail tag, the tail grab one where there's like 4 people. I think if they fix that one, it's not that bad. What I think they need to do with this one to fix it to make it more interesting is one, make it a points-based game instead of in its current format. As long as you have the tail at the very end, you can win. So you can have it for either, like I had it for like 1 minute and 17 seconds in one, or I've gotten it stolen from me at the very last second and lost, and that sucks. But 2, I think what they need to do is they need to not have anyone start with the tail. It needs to be at an even spot in the middle of the map, and then the first person gets it, and then maybe that's when the timer starts counting down. It's just to make it a little bit more like less of a luck of the draw, because you can spend the entire 2 to 2.5 minutes, however long that particular rounds last, just chasing around and never really getting much of a shot at it. That one is the weakest of the group. But I mean, other than that, as far as the team stuff is concerned, I like the egg game. I think fall ball is really great. That one's very consistent in when it's played. The roll the ball to the end minigame can be a little bit frustrating because people like to run out in front and defend, and it's hard to communicate when you don't have any communication with your team. But overall, it's such a great game, and I can't wait to see what they do with it moving forward. It looks like they're going to work with a like seasonal aspect of it, which is very cool. Hopefully they'll add new cosmetics, which is something that I really like about the game. Every day at like 8 or 9 a.m. the shop refreshes, and that gives me an incentive to log into the game. If I see something I like, I play a few rounds, try to get that item, and that's a good hook to keep me looped in. If they add and maneuver and shift and tweak some of the games, I think they could have something really special, and every time that a new season pops up, a bunch of people jump back in and they find out why they're reminded of why they like that game so much, and the kind of ebb and flow with the game. But it's something that I'm really enjoying. I played it for 2 straight nights where I played it on Tuesday on launch day because I was so excited about it, and then I enjoyed the game so much that I ended up playing it on Wednesday and not playing grab bag, which is fine, because I was just having such a good, silly, wonderful time with it. I really love the game. I think it's a lot of fun. It is the perfect battle royale for me. Everything's engaging, everything's interesting, and you're constantly moving towards an objective. Sometimes you get your ass kicked in a race. It's not that big of a deal. Hop back out, hop back in, you're moving, you take that bad loss, you throw it out of your head, and you just keep going. And it's also pretty hard to get super salty with it because it's just a very bright and colorful and fun game. I love it. It's going to be a front runner for me for one of my favorite games of the year because I just love the experience so much. And congratulations to them. They've sold 2 million copies on Steam. It's available right now as a PlayStation Plus perk. So if you have PlayStation Plus, you can access this game and you can try it out and enjoy it. It's fantastic. Finally, on this week's show, we have this week's new releases. Nothing in theaters or streaming. There are 2 movies, The High Note and How to Build a Girl, out on Blu-ray this week. And there are a couple of games out this week, including Darkestville Castle, which was a game I highlighted last week in the Demo Fest episode. We also have Cooking Simulator, which has made its way to the Xbox One finally. It's on Switch. It's been on PC for a while. I don't know if it's on PlayStation 4 because that list just apparently doesn't exist. But this week it's on the Xbox One. And then finally, EA Sports is releasing their 4th installment in the UFC franchise this week, which conveniently leads into this week's streams. Because I enjoyed Fall Guys so much, I played it on both Tuesday and Wednesday, which means that I didn't do Grab Bag on Wednesday. So that's what we need to do this week, is we need to do episodes 11 and 12. It was supposed to be like the season finale, but again, I love the Fall Guys, and I'm a little behind, but that's okay because I didn't really have anything set in Superstone for after that, so delaying it a week isn't that big of a deal. Thursday is going to be another sports blowout night. It seemed like it went pretty well last time, but this time we'll be doing Rico, we'll be doing a new series, and NCAA Football 12 will be continuing that, and then we'll be playing EA Sports UFC 4, and I have a very dumb idea for that, because as I tweeted, my budget for stupid ideas knows no bounds. Then on Friday, the Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 remake, remaster, whatever they're calling it, the demo is out for that, the warehouse demo. I bought the digital edition, so I will have access to that. We're going to play that, and we're going to taste test the Chipotle Tony Hawk Burrito, so that'll be a fun stream. And then on Sunday, I'll be back with Fall Guys and Paper Mario, most likely, and then maybe Monday we'll do a little more Paper Mario as well, because that game just keeps getting pushed. Thank you so much for watching this week's episode of Week in Review. If you like the content, you can scroll on down and you can hit that subscribe button, and then you can ring that bell so you know when I post new videos. And then when you're done doing those 2 steps, you can follow step number 3, which is leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of the content on this week's episode. If there was anything you liked or didn't like, or if there's something that I missed that you're excited for coming out soon, let me know down there. And then step 4 in this process is to go over to twitch.tv/ShaunosaurusRex and then hit the follow button and then subscribe. If you have Amazon Prime, you have Twitch Prime, so you have a free Twitch sub that you can use on my channel should you so choose. And streams will be happening over there on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and maybe Monday. And then you can check back right here every single Tuesday for more Week in Review. We'll see you next week.